Welcome to this explainer class. All right, today we're exploring a truly fascinating biological mystery about human evolution and, well, our own bodies. Let's just dive right into this. Why do your modern, highly evolved brains completely overreact to everyday, perfectly safe situations?
I want you to think about this in the context of your own lives. Why does an unanswered text or, a heavy silence in the group chat suddenly feel like a literal life or death emergency? Or think about when a teacher says, "Hey, can we talk after class?" Why does your stomach just instantly drop? Your heart starts racing, your palms get all sweaty. Logically, you know it's just a minor social hiccup, right? But physically, your body acts like it's a matter of absolute sheer survival.
Think about walking into a dark room tonight. Without even consciously thinking about it, your hand reaches straight for the light switch. And for just a half second, your heart rate actually ticks up. Then the light comes on and you kind of laugh at yourself. But here's the thing. That half-second flinch isn't a modern reaction at all. It's actually 300,000 years old. You are relying on an automatic, ancient survival mechanism that you inherited directly from the savannah. And this brilliantly illustrates the wild disconnect we're dealing with here. Your brain doesn't actually know you live in a world of traffic, school deadlines, and smartphones. It evolved for a world of tall grass, long shadows, and teeth. So when you face a modern threat, like a boss or a teacher saying, "Can we talk?" your biology reacts exactly as if it's an ancient threat. It thinks it's a rustle in the grass hiding a leopard. You are literally one of the safest humans who has ever lived, yet your body reacts like a predator is actively stalking you right now. To really understand why, let's break down an absolutely crucial biology term for your notes. Evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse calls this the smoke detector principle. So think of a smoke alarm in your kitchen. If you have a detector that only goes off for massive, raging house fires, eventually it's going to miss one, and that miss will be fatal. A good smoke detector is built to go off constantly. At burnt toast, it's steam from the shower, at practically nothing. Sure, it is incredibly annoying, but it never misses the fire that actually matters. Your nervous system? It's that exact same smoke detector. It all comes down to the brutal math of early human history. Imagine standing at the edge of a forest, say 60,000 years ago. You hear a rustle. Is it just the wind, or is it a leopard? If you assume it's the wind and you're wrong, well, you die. But if you assume it's a leopard and you're wrong, you just feel a little silly. The cost of a mistake wasn't equal on both sides. So evolution didn't build our ancestors to be perfectly accurate. It built them to be incredibly paranoid, because paranoid people survive to pass on their genes. Now, what's really interesting about this is asking ourselves, do our eyes still scan the modern world like hunter-gatherers? To answer this, researchers Joshua New, Lita Cosmides, and John Tooby ran an absolutely incredible study back in 2007 looking deep into our visual systems. They had people look at these really complex scenes and try to spot a small hidden change. And get this, every single time, participants were dramatically faster at spotting changes made to animals than to literally anything else, including cars. Just think about that for a second. You, as a modern teenager, encounter cars 1,000 times more often than you encounter lions, right? But your ancient visual filter still runs the whole show. It unconsciously prioritizes spotting the thing that moves and might eat you, long before your conscious mind even realizes what you're looking at. Section 1. The biology of fear inside the amygdala. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping this threat detection center, and his findings give us the literal wiring diagram of our evolution. Ledoux discovered that your brain's threat response basically uses two distinct pathways. Step 1 is the fast route. It's super crude, reacting only to general shapes and movement, and it chooses speed over accuracy every single time. Step 2 is the slow route, which is highly detailed and actually waits for confirmation. Your amygdala would much rather you jump back in absolute terror from a curved stick on the ground using that fast route than hang around waiting for the slow route to confirm whether it's actually a venomous snake. Overreact first, sort out the truth later. That is basically your brain's oldest deal with itself. Section 2. The modern mismatch. Savannah brains in a digital world. Let's move to this next part and see how this builds into our actual everyday lives. Remember the calm skeptics who waited around to be absolutely sure? They got selected out. You are quite literally descended from the most jumpy, anxious, hyper-alert humans who ever lived. And you can see their hardware running in your own life through these inherited, ancient behaviors. Ever walk to your car in an empty parking lot at night and find your keys sliding between your fingers while you glance over your shoulder? Nobody sat you down and taught you to do that. It is pre-installed software. Or
Notice how you naturally want the cornered booth at a restaurant? Environmental psychologists call this prospect and refuge. You want to see the exits without being seen from behind. Then there's the first night effect, where half your brain stays measurably more alert when sleeping in a new bed, acting as an ancient night watch. These aren't learned choices. They're survival traits passed down from ancestors who survived by watching their backs and refusing to relax in open spaces. Now, this ancient programming applies heavily to our social lives too. Let's talk about the social brain. For most of human history, being excluded from the group wasn't just, an inconvenience or some high school drama. It was a literal death sentence. A human alone on the plains, without the group's spears to hunt or the group's fire for warmth, simply did not survive. So, how does this manifest in your biology today? Well, psychologist Naomi Eisenberger found something mind-blowing. The neural activation for physical pain, say a literal spear wound, and the neural activation for social rejection are practically identical. There is massive overlap. Your brain genuinely does not fully distinguish between physical injury and being left out of a clique. To your oldest wiring, getting the cold shoulder means you might be left behind, and being left behind once meant dying alone. That is exactly why an unanswered text genuinely physically hurts. This also explains an urge I'm sure is very familiar to anyone navigating high school. Gossip. Following the drama isn't necessarily a character flaw. From an evolutionary standpoint, gossip is actually an ancient surveillance system. Your ancestors survived by quietly scanning the group to file away who was trustworthy, who was a threat, and who was rising in power. The tribes who tracked social standing accurately outlasted those who didn't. So you are really just running that same surveillance software today. But here is the cruel joke of modern life, and honestly, essential takeaway for this unit. Ancient humans faced maybe a handful of genuine threats a week: a storm, a predator, a rival tribe. And then? The threat passed, and their nervous system got a full reset. But you don't get that reset. Modern teenagers are bombarded with dozens of ambiguous signals every single day. A curt text, a cliffhanger notification, an alarming headline on your feed. The modern world has literally learned to manufacture the exact signals that pull your ancient survival lever for profit. And your ancient alarm system just cannot tell the difference between a real emergency and a simple notification. Section 3. You are not broken. A message from a survivor. When you feel that tightness in your chest before a big presentation, you are not failing to cope. Your biology is coping exactly as it was designed to. You are simply carrying a nervous system built for a world that mostly no longer exists. I'll leave you with this incredibly powerful thought to reflect on. Not a flaw, a fossil. A tiny living piece of the person you used to be, still standing guard long after the danger left. The next time a heavy silence in a group chat makes your chest tight, or you catch yourself scanning an empty room, I really challenge you to reframe it. Try not to view it as a malfunction or just random anxiety. View it as a protective message carried across 300,000 years of evolution from a wildly alert ancestor who successfully kept you alive long enough to exist today. So what does this all mean for us? Well, the next time your heart races over a text, ask yourself, is your brain malfunctioning, or is it just doing its job a few millennia too late? Thanks for joining me on this explainer class. Stay curious,